Your mind is a garden. Every thought you plant grows into something that becomes part of your reality. Some people plant seeds of love, peace, confidence, and resilience, while others unknowingly scatter seeds of fear, self-doubt, and defeat. The truth is, life does not bloom according to luck. It blooms according to what you allow to take root in your mind. You cannot expect a beautiful garden if you keep watering weeds. And yet, that's what so many of us do every single day. We water fear with our focus. We feed self-doubt with our attention. We allow other people's words, judgments, and actions to dictate what we believe about ourselves. Then we wonder why life feels heavy, why joy feels far away, and why nothing ever changes. The first step to controlling your thoughts is to recognize that you are not your thoughts. They are not who you are. They are merely suggestions. A thought is like a passing cloud. It can come and go. But if you chase every cloud, you'll lose sight of the sky. The sky is your awareness, your stillness, your peace. It's always there beneath the noise. Every moment you feel anxious, every time you think, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, you have a choice, to believe it or to observe it. You can either be the prisoner of your thoughts or the observer who decides which ones get to stay. Life changes when you stop identifying with every thought that crosses your mind. Most of what we think is not original. It's inherited, handed down by family, culture, media, and experience. If someone once told you that you were too quiet, too emotional, too difficult, too ambitious, too loud, that voice can live inside your mind for years, whispering every time you try to rise. But what you must understand is that the voice is not truth. It's an echo. It's a memory. You can honor where it came from, but you don't have to make it your belief. To change your life, you must first become aware of what you repeatedly think about. Because thoughts shape beliefs, beliefs shape actions, and actions shape destiny. If your thoughts tell you that you're powerless, you'll act powerless. If your thoughts tell you you're capable, you'll rise with quiet confidence. It's not magic, it's energy. Whatever energy you feed expands. The mind is obedient. If you tell it that life is hard, it will find every reason to prove you right. If you tell it that you are capable, it will move mountains to align with that truth. Every morning when you wake up, your mind begins its usual chatter. It brings up what you forgot to do, who hurt you, what went wrong, what could go wrong. It clings to worries like a child clutching a broken toy. But you must learn to redirect it. You have to train your mind the way you train a muscle. Every time it drifts toward fear, bring it back to faith. Every time it clings to the past, bring it back to the present. Every time it doubts your worth, remind it that you were born worthy. It's a daily practice, not a one-time revelation. You won't master it overnight, but you will feel the shift. There will be days when your thoughts feel heavier than your body. You'll wake up and the world will seem gray, your mind fogged with confusion, regret, or fear. On those days, it's easy to believe the voice that says, you're stuck. But the truth is, no one is ever truly stuck. You might be standing still, but life is still moving. Every second you breathe, you have the power to think differently, to see differently, to decide differently. The smallest shift in thought can change the direction of your entire day, and a string of changed days can change your entire life. So how do you begin? Start by noticing the tone of your thoughts. Are they kind? Are they supportive? Would you speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself? If not, something has to change. You cannot create a joyful life with a cruel inner voice. You cannot build peace on a foundation of constant criticism. The words you repeat to yourself are the seeds of your future. Speak with gentleness. Speak with truth. Speak with intention. Your thoughts are also reflections of what you feed your mind. What you watch, read, and surround yourself with seeps into your consciousness like dye in water. That's why you must be deliberate about your mental diet. Don't consume things that drain your spirit and call it entertainment. Don't follow people who make you feel small and call it connection. Protect your mind the way you protect your heart. Because every image, every sentence, every piece of information you allow in becomes a part of you. And soon what you allow in becomes what you think. There's an old saying. You can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. Thoughts are the same. You can't stop them from appearing, but you can choose which ones to entertain. When a negative thought comes, don't fight it. Just don't feed it. Let it pass like a cloud. When a thought of love, gratitude, or strength arises, nurture it. Give it space to grow. The more you do this, the more your mind will learn what peace feels like. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that they must wait until their circumstances change before they can feel different. But your circumstances will not change until your thinking does. You can't live in lack and expect abundance. You can't dwell in fear and expect courage. You can't feed your mind chaos and expect clarity. The world outside of you mirrors the world within you. Change your inner conversation, and you'll change the world you see. There are moments in life when we must speak to ourselves with authority. When fear whispers, you can't. You must answer, watch me. When doubt says, what if it all goes wrong? You must respond, what if it all goes right? You have to become your own encourager. The mind loves to wander toward what can go wrong. Train it to wander toward what can go beautifully. When something doesn't go as planned, instead of thinking, it's over, think, maybe this is redirection. Every rejection, every disappointment, every delay carries wisdom if you choose to look for it. Self-control is not just about actions, it's about thoughts. When you control your thoughts, you master your emotions. When you master your emotions, you master your reactions. When you master your reactions, you master your destiny. You stop being at the mercy of external events and become the calm in your own storm. You begin to realize that you don't have to respond to every negative thought or every provocation. You can pause. You can breathe. You can choose peace over chaos, understanding over anger, presence over panic. That's where true power lies. Not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. If you want to change your life, you must change your story. What do you keep telling yourself about who you are and what you can't do? Every story you tell becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not broken beyond repair. You are simply becoming. Every day you have a chance to write a new chapter. But to do that, you must put down the old one. Stop rereading the pages of pain, failure, and regret. Start writing the pages of growth, healing, and renewal. Sometimes your thoughts will try to convince you that nothing ever changes. But look back. Hasn't something always changed? You've healed from heartbreaks that once felt unbearable. You've survived nights that once felt endless. You've overcome moments you thought would break you. You are not who you were. You've grown, even if you don't always feel it. The mind forgets progress easily because it's always scanning for what's next. What's missing? What's uncertain? But you must remind it of what's good, of how far you've come. Gratitude is the anchor that brings the mind back to peace. Control doesn't mean suppression. It means awareness. It means choosing your focus with intention. If you try to suppress your feelings, they'll grow stronger. If you try to avoid your thoughts, they'll chase you. But when you look at them with compassion, when you say, I see you, but you don't control me, they begin to lose their power. Awareness brings freedom. Acceptance brings peace. The more you learn to direct your thoughts, the more you will see how life bends in response. You'll start attracting different conversations, different opportunities, different people. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. You'll no longer be magnetized by chaos or toxicity, because your energy won't resonate with it anymore. Your peace will become your protection. You'll stop seeking validation from others, because your sense of worth will come from within. That's the transformation that begins with a single thought. The people who change their lives aren't always the ones with the most talent, resources, or luck. They are the ones who learn to control their thoughts when life gets difficult. They are the ones who decide, "I will not let fear decide my fate." They are the ones who feel pain but choose not to dwell in it. They are the ones who rewrite their inner dialogue from, "I can't," to, "I can," from, "It's too late," to, "It's my time." That decision, that small shift, is the birth of change. Your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. When it's trained, it becomes your ally, guiding you toward purpose, clarity, and joy. When it's untamed, it becomes your saboteur, replaying doubts, fears, and wounds like a broken record. The difference between the two is awareness and repetition. You have to teach your mind how to think the way you teach a child how to walk. Patiently, lovingly, consistently. Every time it falls back into old patterns, pick it up again. Every time it resists change, remind it that comfort zones create small lives. If you could see the power of one consistent positive thought, you'd never waste another moment on self-doubt. A single thought of love can change how you speak to others. A single thought of courage can make you take the first step toward your dream. A single thought of gratitude can dissolve years of bitterness. It's all connected. Thoughts are energy, and energy moves the world. When you catch yourself spiraling into negativity, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me? If the answer is no, let it go. Replace it with one that empowers you. It might feel unnatural at first, but over time it becomes your new normal. You are literally rewiring your brain. Every positive thought strengthens a new pathway. Every time you choose calm over chaos, gratitude over complaint, hope over despair, you are changing the architecture of your mind. That is how transformation begins, from the inside out. And remember, change is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's choosing not to argue. Sometimes it's walking away from negativity. Sometimes it's speaking kindly to yourself after years of criticism. Sometimes it's forgiving yourself for the past. Those small moments of grace are what shape a new life. You are not meant to be controlled by your mind. You are meant to lead it. You are not your thoughts, you are the consciousness behind them. The more you remember that, the freer you become. You don't have to believe everything your mind says. You don't have to replay the same stories. You can choose peace. You can choose faith. You can choose joy, even when the world gives you every reason not to. There's a quiet strength in the person who learns to master their thoughts. They move through life with calm eyes and a steady heart. They don't rush. They don't chase. They don't let fear dictate their choices. They understand that the storm outside doesn't have to create a storm inside. They've learned that controlling their mind is the highest form of freedom. And that kind of freedom cannot be taken away. It can only be surrendered. If you want to change your life, don't wait for someone else to do it. Begin within. Begin by changing what you tell yourself. Begin by choosing thoughts that honor your growth. Begin by releasing the ones that hold you hostage. Because every great change in history, every breakthrough, every revolution began with a single thought. Yours can too. So when tomorrow comes, don't wake up with dread. Wake up with decision. Decide what kind of thoughts you will water today. Decide which seeds deserve your focus. Decide that no matter what happens, you will not let fear, comparison, or doubt run your mind. You are the gardener of your soul, the one who decides what blooms and what fades. And when you learn to control your thoughts, You will discover what true power feels like. The kind that changes not just your life, but the lives of everyone who crosses your path. Because the world doesn't change when you conquer others. It changes when you conquer yourself. And that victory begins in the silence of your own mind. Your mind is a garden. Whatever thoughts you water will grow. Every single day, the seeds of your thoughts are quietly shaping the landscape of your life. Some people unknowingly spend their lives nurturing weeds. Thoughts of fear, resentment, jealousy, and regret. And then wonder why their lives feel overrun with unhappiness. Others choose to water the flowers. Gratitude, love, courage, and self-belief. And they live with a sense of peace that radiates from within. The truth is, your outer world is always a reflection of your inner world. What you see around you is only the harvest of what you've been planting inside yourself. If your life feels full of struggle, look at what you've been nurturing in your mind. If your days feel heavy, ask yourself what kind of seeds you've been watering through your focus and attention. Every thought you entertain has energy. It doesn't simply pass by, it takes root. When you replay old hurts or fears, you're feeding them with your focus, allowing them to grow stronger and take up more space. And soon, those weeds start to suffocate the flowers, your confidence, your joy, your peace. But when you consciously choose to water your positive thoughts, something beautiful begins to happen. Your mind starts to clear. You begin to notice possibilities instead of obstacles. You start to speak differently, act differently, and attract differently. You become a living reflection of the thoughts you choose to nurture. It's not about pretending life is perfect or ignoring the difficult moments. It's about learning where to put your energy. A good gardener doesn't curse the weeds. They simply pull them out and keep tending the soil. In the same way, when you notice a negative thought creeping in, don't panic, don't judge yourself. Just redirect your attention. Remind yourself that you have the power to choose a better seed. You can plant hope where fear once grew. You can plant forgiveness where bitterness once rooted itself. You can plant self-worth where self-doubt used to thrive. Over time, your garden transforms not by accident, but by intention. Everything you allow your mind to dwell on multiplies. If you spend your mornings thinking about everything that could go wrong, you are watering worry. If you spend your nights replaying pain, you are watering suffering. But if you fill your mind with gratitude, if you remind yourself of what's still good and what's still possible, you're watering peace. You're creating an environment where joy can take root and grow stronger every day. The most powerful people are not those who control others. They are the ones who control what grows in their own minds. The mind doesn't care what seeds you plant. It will grow whatever you feed it. So be mindful. Protect your garden. Remove the weeds early. And remember, the beauty you see in your life tomorrow begins with the thoughts you choose to water today. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer who chooses which ones to believe. Every thought that crosses your mind is like a passing visitor knocking on the door of your consciousness. Some come with love, encouragement, and peace, while others come dressed in fear, doubt, or regret. But it is you who decides which thoughts to invite in and which ones to let pass by. The problem is that most people believe every thought they have. They accept them as truth, even when those thoughts are cruel, limiting, or destructive. They say, "I'm not good enough," and take it as fact. They think, "I'll never succeed," and stop trying. But just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves your belief. Thoughts are not commands, they are choices. You don't have to act on every one. You don't even have to believe them all. You simply have to become aware of them. When you learn to observe your thoughts instead of identifying with them, you take back your power. You stop being a slave to the random noise of your mind and start becoming its master. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you can say to yourself, I'm noticing that I'm thinking this, instead of I am this, you create distance. That distance is where peace lives. That's where you can see clearly what serves you and what doesn't. It's like sitting by a river and watching leaves float by. Some leaves carry beauty. Some carry pain. But you don't have to jump in after them. You can simply watch, let them flow, and know that they will pass. The reason people suffer so deeply in their own minds is because they fuse their identity with their thoughts. If the mind says, you are unworthy, they believe it. If it says, you will fail, they stop moving. But when you step back and remember that the mind is just a storyteller, you begin to see how much power you truly have. The mind creates stories out of memories, fears, and assumptions, and it repeats them so often that they begin to feel real. But feelings are not always facts, and thoughts are not always truth. You are the consciousness behind them, the quiet awareness that sees them come and go. Learning to separate yourself from your thoughts takes patience and practice. It means becoming curious about what your mind tells you, instead of obedient to it. When a negative thought arises, don't fight it. Just notice it. Ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this belief based on evidence or on fear? This simple act of questioning begins to weaken the hold that negative thoughts have over you. Over time, you start to realize that peace is not found in controlling every thought. It's found in knowing that you don't have to believe them all. The voice in your head might be loud, but it's not the truth of who you are. You are the listener, the witness, the awareness that exists beneath all the noise, untouched and infinite, quietly choosing what to keep and what to release. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your inner dialogue. What you say to yourself, quietly and consistently, has more influence over your reality than any external force. Every word you whisper inside your own mind becomes a building block in the foundation of your confidence, your peace, and your happiness. If your inner dialogue is filled with criticism, blame, or fear, it's no surprise that life begins to feel heavy. But when you begin to speak to yourself with encouragement, compassion, and belief, everything changes. Your world doesn't shift because the outside suddenly becomes easier. It shifts because your perspective does. The mind is powerful enough to make heaven feel like hell and hell feel like heaven, depending on what you tell yourself about it. Most people don't realize how harshly they speak to themselves. They wouldn't say to a friend what they say in the privacy of their thoughts. They call themselves names when they make mistakes, replay their failures, and judge their worth through the lens of comparison. Over time, that inner dialogue becomes a kind of background music, always playing, always reminding them of what they lack instead of what they have. The tragedy is that this inner conversation determines how you show up in the world. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not enough, you begin to act like someone who isn't. You hold back your light, you lower your voice, you settle for less than you deserve. But if your self-talk becomes nurturing, you start to carry yourself differently. You walk taller, you take risks, you attract opportunities that match your energy. The dialogue within you doesn't just describe your life, it creates it. Every thought you repeat becomes a belief, and every belief dictates your actions. If you tell yourself you can't, your mind will find evidence to prove you right. If you tell yourself you can, your mind will search for ways to make it true. That's why awareness is essential. You must listen to the way you speak to yourself. Notice the words you use when you look in the mirror, when you make a mistake, when you're alone. Ask yourself whether those words build you or break you. Because you cannot expect peace from a mind that constantly attacks itself. Changing your inner dialogue doesn't mean you ignore your flaws or avoid growth. It means you replace cruelty with compassion. It means when you fall, you say, "I can try again," instead of, "I'm a failure." It means when you face something uncertain, you say, "I'll figure this out," instead of, "I can't handle this." The words you choose become the environment you live in mentally. If you fill it with kindness, you thrive. If you fill it with criticism, you wilt. The voice in your head will always be with you, in every joy, in every struggle, in every silent moment. Train it to be your ally, because the dialogue you nurture inside will always define the quality of the life you live outside. ChatGPT said, "You can't change your life until you change the story you tell yourself every day." Every person carries a story inside them, a narrative that quietly defines what they believe they deserve, how they see the world, and what they think is possible. That story is built over years of experiences, words from others, and moments of triumph or pain. Some stories tell you that you are capable, resilient, and worthy of love. Others whisper that you are not enough, that you'll always struggle, that life is meant to be endured rather than enjoyed. The story you repeat becomes your identity, and your identity determines your destiny. If you keep telling yourself the same limiting story, you'll live the same limiting life. But if you choose to rewrite it, you unlock a new version of yourself waiting to be lived. Every morning when you wake up, your mind starts narrating your life before the day even begins. It reminds you of who you think you are. It might say, "I'm always anxious," or "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm not good at relationships." These may feel like truths, but they are simply stories you've told yourself so many times that they've hardened into belief. The mind loves repetition. It clings to the familiar, even when the familiar hurts. That's why changing your story feels uncomfortable at first. You're not just replacing words, you're rebuilding identity. You're telling your mind that the old pattern no longer defines you. And at first, your mind will resist. It will say, "Who are you to think you can change?" But that resistance is only the echo of the old story fighting to stay alive. The beauty is that your story is not permanent. It's a choice renewed with every thought, every reaction, every moment you decide to speak differently about yourself and your life. If you've been telling yourself that you're unlucky, start noticing the moments of grace that happen each day, no matter how small. If you've been telling yourself that you're unworthy of love, remind yourself that you are made of the same light, the same hope, the same humanity as everyone else. The story changes not by force, but by gentle awareness. When you begin to question your old story instead of obeying it, you weaken its hold. So much of transformation begins in silence. The moment you finally realize that the story you've been living isn't the only one available to you. You can choose to be the victim of your past or the author of your future. You can decide that what happened to you shaped you, but it doesn't define you. You can look at your pain not as punishment, but as preparation. Your new story doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest and empowering. You have to start telling yourself a story that aligns with the person you want to become, not the person you used to be. Because every new chapter begins the moment you decide that the old one no longer controls how your life unfolds. ChatGPT said, "Mastering your thoughts is the highest form of freedom." Most people spend their entire lives trying to control everything around them. Their circumstances, the opinions of others, the outcomes of their efforts, without realizing that true control begins within. The mind is the source of every emotion, every reaction, and every decision, and yet it's the one thing many people never learn to manage. A person who masters their thoughts becomes unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because they learn how to remain calm within chaos. Freedom isn't about escaping challenges. It's about not letting those challenges control your peace. When you learn to master your thoughts, you stop being a prisoner to every fear, every doubt, and every worry that passes through your mind. You begin to choose how you feel instead of being controlled by what happens. The mind is like the wind. It can be strong, unpredictable, and difficult to grasp, but when you train it, it becomes a source of power rather than confusion. Most suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from the stories the mind tells about what happens. Two people can experience the same event. One sees defeat, the other sees opportunity, and the difference lies not in the event but in the thought. Mastering your thoughts doesn't mean never feeling fear or sadness again. It means knowing how to keep those emotions from ruling you. It means being able to stand in the middle of uncertainty and still choose clarity, to face disappointment and still choose hope. The moment you start observing your mind instead of reacting to it, you begin to understand how powerful awareness truly is. When someone criticizes you, your first thought might be to take it personally. But if you pause, if you step back, you might realize that their words say more about them than about you. That's mastery. When fear rises, your mind might scream that you're not ready. But if you can quiet the noise and listen to the still voice within, you'll hear the truth. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act anyway. The mind can be a weapon or a tool depending on who holds it. If you let your thoughts control you, they will lead you into anxiety and regret. If you control your thoughts, they will guide you toward peace and purpose. To master your mind is to understand that not every thought deserves attention. Some thoughts will try to provoke you, others will try to limit you, and some will try to protect you through fear. You must learn to filter them, to ask, is this thought serving my highest self? The more you practice this awareness, the quieter the noise becomes. The storms of life may continue to rage, but inside you, a deep calm takes root. That calm is freedom, not freedom from life, but freedom within life, the kind that no one can take away because it was built from within. When you control your mind, you don't need to control everything around you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to manage the world outside them, constantly reacting to circumstances, people, and situations they cannot truly control. They chase perfection, expecting that if everything around them finally settles, they will find peace. But life doesn't work that way. The world will never stop moving, people will never stop being unpredictable, and circumstances will never stop changing. Peace doesn't come from controlling the noise. It comes from mastering the space within yourself that remains still despite it. When you learn to guide your thoughts, when you stop allowing every emotion and situation to dictate your inner state, you begin to live with a quiet power that no one can take away. The desire to control everything around us comes from fear. The fear of losing, the fear of being hurt, the fear of uncertainty. But when you try to control the world, you exhaust yourself because you're fighting the natural rhythm of life. Everything outside you is temporary, always shifting. People change, plans fail, and outcomes rarely unfold exactly the way you imagined. Yet the one thing that can always remain steady is your mind. The mind that can stay centered through chaos is the strongest force you can cultivate. When you control your thoughts, you are no longer driven by anger when someone disrespects you, or by anxiety when something doesn't go your way. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. You begin to realize that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to absorb every emotion you feel, and you don't have to lose your peace just because someone else lost theirs. People who live in reaction to everything around them often feel drained because they're letting external energy dictate their inner world. One person's words can ruin their entire day. One unexpected problem can send them spiraling into panic. But those who learn to control their minds understand that no one can disturb their peace unless they give permission. They've built an inner strength that acts like a shield, allowing life to unfold without consuming them. They feel their emotions but don't become their emotions. They see problems but don't become consumed by them. The more you practice this control, the more life begins to feel lighter. Not because it's easier, but because your mind no longer resists everything that happens. When your mind is calm, you begin to see life with greater clarity. You notice things you couldn't before, because chaos blurs perception. In the stillness of a controlled mind, wisdom emerges. You begin to understand that you cannot change other people, but you can change how you engage with them. You cannot control outcomes, but you can control your effort and your attitude. You cannot prevent challenges, but you can control how you meet them. This realization is liberating. It removes the constant pressure to fix everything outside yourself and redirects your focus to where true power lies, within. When you master that, you start living with peace even when things are uncertain. A person who controls their mind understands the art of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop suffering from things you cannot control. You can love deeply without clinging. You can work passionately without obsessing over results. You can dream big without fearing failure. Detachment frees you from the emotional roller coaster that comes from trying to force everything into your idea of how it should be. The controlled mind knows that sometimes life will flow with you, and sometimes it will flow against you. But either way, you remain steady. You stop fighting the current and start learning how to navigate it with grace. When you can control your mind, your energy changes. You stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from awareness. Someone can criticize you, and instead of immediately feeling defensive, you can pause and ask, is there truth in this, or is it just noise? When a challenge arises, instead of collapsing under the pressure, you can ask, what is this trying to teach me? This level of self-control turns pain into perspective and problems into growth. You begin to see that everything, even the difficult moments, can serve a purpose. The storms of life no longer destroy you because you've built an anchor within. Learning to control your mind is a daily discipline. It requires awareness and patience. You have to become a witness to your own thoughts, noticing when they drift into worry, anger, or self-doubt. The goal is not to suppress those thoughts, but to guide them. When your mind starts to spiral into fear, bring it back to gratitude. When it focuses on lack, bring it back to abundance. When it fixates on what's going wrong, remind it of what's still right. Over time, this becomes your natural rhythm. You no longer chase peace, you create it. You no longer chase happiness, you cultivate it from within. The mind becomes your ally rather than your enemy, your source of strength rather than your source of suffering. When you no longer need to control the outside world, you begin to live with flow. You understand that not every plan needs to go your way for you to feel fulfilled. You stop needing validation from others to feel worthy. You stop reacting to negativity because you know it's only a reflection of other people's inner storms, not your truth. You walk through life with an inner calm that feels unshakable, and people can sense it. They wonder how you stay composed when things fall apart, how you smile when faced with uncertainty. The answer is simple. You've learned that peace is not the absence of chaos, it's the mastery of mind amid chaos. This kind of control doesn't happen overnight. It grows with practice, through self-awareness, meditation, patience, and discipline. You'll have days when your mind feels wild, when fear and doubt feel louder than your faith. But every time you bring yourself back, every time you choose peace over panic, you strengthen your control. Eventually, it becomes who you are, a person who moves through life from the inside out, no longer tossed around by every wave. When you control your mind, relationships improve, because you stop reacting emotionally to everything people say. You begin to listen without judgment, speak without haste, and forgive without pride. You stop expecting others to change to make you happy, because you've already created happiness within. The small things that once irritated you lose their power. The opinions that once shook you no longer touch you. You stop arguing with what you cannot change and start embracing what you can. Your response, your perspective, your peace. The freedom that comes from controlling your mind is not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and deeply empowering. You wake up in the same world but with a different lens. The chaos still exists, but it no longer owns you. You no longer feel the need to win every argument, to please everyone, or to predict every outcome. You simply move through life with faith that no matter what happens outside, you are in control inside. That is true freedom. The kind that no external circumstance can give or take away. The kind that radiates from a heart that has learned to master the mind.